Hey fellas, I'm here today with Matt Manno, who just topped YCS Montreal with his amazing deck. Matt, what did you top with today?
So I played the ROLAD pile, quote unquote, which is essentially ROLAD Azamina Adventure good stuff deck.
All right, let's get straight into the cards.
Before we do actually get into the deck list here, I did kind of just want to preface really quick that going up to the event, I actually had like no clue of what I really wanted to play. I was kind of stuck between this Cool Tune and to a degree Sky Striker, but I ultimately landed on this deck because one of my good friends had sent me a deck list for the Rolad pile, a well-known player, Anthony Zhu, and I did actually like the deck list so much that I chose to just go along with it. Pretty much most of these ideas are not mine, and I did just kind of want to preface that going into the video. But nevertheless, I am just going to go ahead and like kind of give my opinions and thoughts on the deck after playing an event with it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we played one Habakiri, one Mirakumo, one Futsu, two Aramasa, one Saji, one Kusanagi, three Prayers, one Ritual, one Mirror, one Great Purification. I really don't think there's like a whole lot of explaining that needs to be done with this engine. A lot of the important cards are highly searchable for this deck, so we don't need to play extra ways to them. And in addition to that, a lot of these cards don't do anything by themselves, such as these three and a lot of the ritual monsters and lower names. So because of that, I did just kind of choose to play like a bare bones package, with the exception of Aramasa, in which I played two copies of it. One, it does actually do the combo by itself, but it is something that we played at two because of one of the combos, in which we do search an extra copy of Aramasa to our hand and tribute it with Deception. With that being said, really, the definitive factor of why we played two instead of three of them actually has to do with another engine that I will get to in a little bit. But this sort of engine here worked out fine, and to be honest with you, when I needed to, I would just side down on the one Aramasa, but no complaints overall with the mid-two cards. Next, getting into the Rolad cards, we played three Grifo, two Skull Archfiend, one Black Chaos, one Magician of Dark Chaos, the Ritual Spell, and Mind Shuffle. Once again, really no new ideas here. Grifo is obviously the most broken card, so we're going to max out on it. And we're not playing multiple Black Chaos because it is somewhat redundant with Grifo, in which a lot of people now know that Mind Shuffle is one of the choke points of this engine, and as a result of that, if you're drawing Grifo Black Chaos, it can be quite redundant. The one thing I will say is I did actually somewhat miss a second Black Chaos, and it's not so much for the fact that it helps push through Mind Shuffle. It's more so for the fact that Black Chaos is just a broken board breaker. And yeah, with that being said, the second Black Chaos would have been nice to draw naturally, as opposed to like trying to search it out. Because if your opponent kind of catches wind of that, they are going to do everything in their power to stop it. Because if Black Chaos resolves, the game pretty much ends. The only other thing that I did just want to mention with this engine was that we didn't play the BLS link. One, BLS link is another brick, and two, our end board is strong enough to where we kind of just don't need it in addition to everything that we put up. But also the fact that the BLS link is an earth, and it does conflict with some of our side deck options. So really, I just didn't think it was something that was necessary. And yeah, it wasn't in the original deck list either. Next, three Ragged, two Pre-Prep. Ragged is the more broken spell here for the fact that it isn't dependent on having a ritual spell in your deck. You can kind of just get to anything you need by having the card in your hand or deck, whereas Pre-Prep is the tale's as old as time here, where drawing Mirror Pre-Prep obviously sucks. So we only decided to play two Pre-Prep here, just so that we wouldn't essentially brick on it in the event that we were to draw the mirror. Next, Diabellstar cards, 3 Witch, 3 Wanted, 1 Deception, 1 Hollowed, and 1 Mirror. Really, the only thing that I feel like needs explaining here would be the Deception. Some people choose to play a second Deception, but I think that only really makes sense in the non-pile versions of this deck, where you're only playing Diabellstar cards in addition to the ROLAD cards. With this deck, if Diabellstar gets stopped, you have a lot more engine to kind of push through and still make a formidable ed board. Whereas I think with the lower ceiling version of this deck, getting your Diabellstar interacted with kind of stinks because you don't end on an Omni Negate. So people have elected to play multiple Deceptions to kind of like get through that. But other than that, I think in like the pile version, you really just don't need the second Deception, and it didn't come up for me personally. Moving on to the other engines, we played the Adventure engine, so 2 Water Enchantress, 1 Rite of Aramesir, 1 Fateful Adventure, 1 Dracoback, and 1 Griffin Rider. This was actually the engine that I was talking about with Aramasa, in which if you resolve a Rite of Aramesir, you essentially can't use Aramasa. So I didn't want to play like a full sweep of them because of that. And the Adventure cards are really, really strong. It was actually something that I was quite glad that I played, even though a lot of my friends were somewhat skeptical about playing the engine itself. So, one, they did provide my end boards with a lot of extra interruptions, or the extra interruption, and even in the event that that was not occurring, essentially the Adventure cards were extra link bodies, and they did provide extra draws for Magician Souls. So I was glad that I played these cards. Next, we played a copy of Foolish Burial. This is essentially a 3rd copy of Water Enchantress, but in addition to that, you can also send things like Massmaster, and we actually played 2 Nightmare hands to accompany that. This is something that is somewhat new to the deck, so for those of you who don't know what this card does, essentially once per duel, while it is in your graveyard, you can banish a spell from your grave to summon it, and then on summon it allows you to Foolish a Spellcaster, Fiend, or Illusion Monster, and then becomes that attribute. And this is quite useful for the fact that there are many targets that we can send off of this, such as Skull Archfiend of Chaos, Water Enchantress, Black Chaos, Diabellstar. The options are endless, to where this card becomes something that is quite versatile, because it'll allow you to get to another engine that maybe you didn't draw, or maybe your opponent's just trying to deny you that engine, and essentially you just get to it through this. So I will preface that I did draw Massmaster quite a bit. Even still, I think I would play this moving forward. And then lastly, for the non-engine here, we played 3 Fua, 3 Perulium, 2 Droll, 3 Sloth, and then 3 Droplet. I think that the higher impact hand traps made a lot of sense in this deck, simply for the fact that when we go first, our deck is so strong that if we get to make a resemblance of the board, we're just in a really good spot. Whereas when we go second, essentially we're just trying to make it so that our opponent can't end on a full end board, or is heavily disincentivized for making an end board. And in the event that your opponent does decide to go ahead and play, we wanted other cards that would allow us to optimize our hand in the form of Pot of Sloth, or just be able to use cards that we're activating, such as Quick Plays or dead cards in our hand, to kind of gain value with Droplet. Overall, these were all fantastic. Wouldn't change anything with the non-engine either. And that was everything for the main deck. So quickly going on to the extra deck here, we played a copy of Dark Magician of Destruction, 1 Murus Liago, and 1 Ilia Severa. All of these cards are part of the combo here, and I don't really think any of them need an explanation. But yeah, absolutely fantastic cards. Next we play Anima, SP, Reaperdocus, Cross Sheep, Dark, Selene, Proto Talker, Firewall Dragon, Charmer Quartet, Access Code, Zena, and then Underworld Goddess. So, kind of getting into some of the choices here. I guess really the big thing to talk about here is Underworld Goddess. The idea behind this card is that there are a lot of cards in the format, such as Dogma or Liar, or maybe even Black Chaos to a degree, that kind of make it difficult for this deck to essentially kill our opponent. With that being said, being able to make an Underworld Goddess to just like kind of clear that card was something that in theory was quite useful, but in actuality didn't really come up for myself. I actually really only made this card once against an Archmage player, and I think, to be honest with you, even if I didn't have Underworld Goddess, I still think that I was in a fine enough position in that game. If I were to cut this card, theoretically speaking, something that was really strong for me was Dark. Being able to maybe even play a second Dark would have been something that I would consider over the Underworld Goddess, for the fact that Dark was something that would like allow me to take threatening cards out of my opponent's graveyard, such as Ilya Severas or Zalen's, which did apply a lot of pressure. And then for the fact that when this card's destroyed, you essentially search Grifo, essentially made it a pretty formidable card. The other thing that I was considering for the extra deck was a copy of a Balakue. We do play Skull Archfiend of Chaos, which is a fiend, and as a result of that, we can essentially make a Balakue in our deck. I personally did not test that card enough to where I was comfortable playing it, and to be honest with you, it wasn't fully on my radar until the event started, but I guess maybe for the future, a Balakue would be something that I would consider as well. And then lastly, moving on to the side deck here, to kind of just like preface the side deck here, our deck does have a pretty big problem with Droll and Lockbird. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. So really, in our side deck, the game plan was to kind of just survive against situations in which you get Droll. So as a result of that, we did play a high quantity of hand traps in the side deck, which was 3 Ash, 3 Impulse, 3 Spark, then 2 Bestials. My addition to this deck, or what I thought was something that would be pretty good, was 2 copies of Nibiru. This was different from the list that I sent, but it is something that has been played in this deck in the past. Really, the idea here is that if you get like Charming to Oblivion, or if you get Drolled, you're trying to have some layer or some form of interruption to survive and essentially be able to push back on the next turn. Personally, I think the Dominus cards were really just the best cards in the side deck. The Impulses and Sparks did a fantastic job at essentially providing extra layers to my end boards and extra interrupts. So I am very glad that I played those. And when it comes to Nibiru here, I think the theory with Nib was sound, in which it's to kind of prevent yourself from not dying against like decks like Elf Note, the Mirror Match, things of that nature. But ultimately, I actually never got to resolve this card. So as a result of that, I would say the card was probably fine, but it could have been something else. But yeah, Nib was in theory good. And then lastly, the Bestials here, Mag and Druis, both fantastic cards. Really, really solid in the mirror, to the fact where Druis Worm actually, more so than Magnum, in my opinion, put in a lot of work. I guess Magnum up by extension. But being able to like banish something on your opponent's end phase and then essentially send it off to the graveyard to essentially force interaction was really, really strong. And then lastly, 2 going first cards, Call by and Talent. The big thing I do want to preface with the pile version of this deck is that you don't really need to side in things that provide additional pieces to your end board. Things that I've like kind of seen in other deck lists are like the Pharaonic Advent package with Discord and Anti-Spell. I personally don't think that's something that is required in this version of the deck, because our end board is strong enough already. So really, in going first options, I just wanted cards that were going to either prevent my opponent from stopping me or punish my opponent for interacting with me. And obviously the cards that do that are going to be Talent and Call by. Both were fantastic every time I drew them, to the point where maybe I would consider a cross out. And I know other people who were playing this deck did choose to do that, so it's kind of nice to know that people were thinking along the same lines as myself. But other than that, that was the deck profile here. Once again, I did just kind of want to go into shout-outs. So once again, Anthony, thank you for the deck list. It was fantastic, and I am super glad I played it. Next, kind of just getting into people I traveled with. Dave Curry, thank you for coming up to the event with me. It was a lot of fun. Shout out to the card shop that I work for, Alternate Universes. Check us out on alternateu.com to see our event schedule list and the games that we host. Next, shout out to some of my testing group here, Kevin Gow, Thomas Rafter, Bryce Walker, Shane Gurney. Thank you all for testing with me over the past couple of weeks. I do really appreciate it. And then lastly, shout out to everyone who did support me online. I do really appreciate all the words of encouragement, and I definitely couldn't have done it without you guys. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, everybody, that was the deck profile. Thank you so much one more time, Matt, and congratulations on the top. I hope to see you around in locals the 3 times that you choose to play, and have a great year.
Thank you.
Ciao.